What do you think their hang up is with football in particular, since that's a sport you cover? Like, and part of it is the reason I think some of the other sports cover is they like sacrifice some of that for football, which nobody has put more money into football and gotten less out of it than Texas A&M.
It's a good question. I think that there's a couple pieces to it, right? Like, I think that one, I actually really like the hire of Mike Elko. I think that he kind of gets back to their roots, but I do feel like during the Kevin Sumlin era and even into the Jimbo Fisher era, you felt like Texas A&M was kind of getting away from who they are. Obviously I grew up in the state of Texas in DFW, and Texas A&M, one, is an underdog, and two, is a blue collar place. So where all of a sudden you go and you all of a sudden are the school of swag copters and Kevin Sumlin and Johnny Manziel, like it never quite fit to me. And then you bring in Jimbo Fisher, who obviously is a coach who frankly was like seen as beyond reproach in many cases because of the contract that he signed and because of the attention he brought. Well, I felt like Mike Elko was a little bit of going back. He reminded me a lot of the RC Slocum hire, a guy who's a defensive coordinator, just a football coach, going to really instill some toughness. Now, again, you didn't necessarily see it in year one the entire season, but I do think long-term that's going to make a lot of sense. But, the other thing too is that especially when you look at that 2022 recruiting class, of course, they have the number one class of all time that season. I think that there was so much focus on trying to project something out to the world that there wasn't as much regard for what does this team need? What does this roster need? How do we get the most out of these players? And you look at so many of the players in that class, they had their best seasons after they left Texas A&M. So I think getting back to more of a blue-collar mindset, a developmental mindset, and still being able to do it with 5 stars makes a lot of sense. I actually made the comparison whenever they hired Colin Klein as their offensive coordinator. I think the best thing that Texas A&M could be that would fit right within their identity and right within the culture of that place is beat Kansas State with 5 stars, right? They hire Colin Klein as their offensive coordinator from Kansas State, of course. I think that has the potential to be a perfect fit if they're willing to see it through.